these 10 e-bikes will all be worthless. By 2027, a used e-bike can lose value for one reason: buyers stop trusting it. By 2027, these 10 models could face that exact problem. Some have battery warnings, some lost their companies, some are trapped by parts, software, or new laws. And number 1 shows how fast a popular bike can become untouchable. Number 10. The Ancheer AM001907. For 6 years, this was one of the best-selling electric bikes in America, and almost nobody who bought one could tell you its name. It was the black hardtail with 26-inch wheels and a silver battery on the down tube shaped like a water bottle. It sold on Amazon, Walmart, eBay, Sears, AliExpress, and half a dozen other storefronts between January of 2016 and June of 2022 for anywhere from $280 to $930. In October of 2022, it was recalled. Around 22,000 units. The lithium-ion battery could ignite, explode, or throw sparks, and the distributor had logged 6 incidents, including 4 burn injuries. Owners were told to stop riding, pull the battery, and email proof that they had disposed of it properly, after which a free replacement pack would be sent. The bikes had been made in China and distributed by a Shenzhen network technology firm. The recall landed weeks after suspected e-bike battery started a fire in a Manhattan high-rise that injured 38 people, which is roughly when American regulators began treating these packs as a category rather than a series of accidents. And now the detail that makes this one remarkable. The model number appears on the shipping box and in the instruction manual. It does not appear anywhere on the bicycle. So picture a rider in 2026 standing in a garage looking at a black Ancheer with a water bottle battery with the box long gone. They cannot confirm whether they own the recalled unit. The replacement window closed years ago. No bike shop will touch the pack, and no buyer will take the risk. It is a functioning bicycle that nobody can safely identify, and that is enough to end its resale life. Number 9. The Sondors Fold XStorm. Sondors launched his first electric bike out of Malibu in 2015 at a price nobody believed was possible, somewhere around $500, and pulled in roughly $5 million on Indiegogo doing it. For a moment, the company was the most talked about name in American micromobility, claiming sales across 72 countries. The Fold X was one of the folding models that carried that cheap e-bike dream into thousands of garages, and for a lot of Americans, it was the first electric bike they ever rode. Then the pattern set in: delays, delivered bikes that fell short of the promised numbers. A jump into electric motorcycles with the Metacycle, taken on pre-orders paid in full, which a former employee later stated had never actually been street legal. By late 2023, the company held 7 e-bikes and 1 motorcycle in its catalog, and most of them were out of stock. It entered receivership that year, facing accusations of mismanagement, and left its contract manufacturers holding thousands of unsold units. The name has since reappeared on a new electric dirt bike, but that is a new company selling a new product. The rider with a Fold X in the shed owns an orphan. Its derailleur and brakes are generic and replaceable. Its controller, display, and battery mount are not, and the business that specified them no longer exists in the form that would answer for them. Number 8. The Faraday Porteur. This one genuinely hurts because the Porteur was beautiful. Faraday built it in San Francisco with a bamboo front rack, leather grips, brass detailing, and a battery hidden completely inside the frame tube so that the bike read as a classic city cruiser and nothing else. It won design awards. It appeared in magazines that never cover bicycles. In July of 2019, 4,450 of them were recalled because the seat post could break. Owners were offered a replacement or a repair. That same year, the company failed. What the recall could not address is the thing that actually killed the Porteur's value. That hidden battery was the entire design premise, and it was built for one frame. When the company went under, normal support for that battery became extremely difficult. The cells in a Porteur bought in 2016 are now a decade old, and lithium does not wait politely while a company sorts itself out. So the bike still looks extraordinary leaning against a wall. It rides as a heavy single-speed cruiser. The elegance that made it worth $2,500 is precisely the reason it became so hard to bring back to life. And that is a trade-off no buyer was ever asked to consider at the point of sale. Number 7. The Elby S1. The Elby was a low-step Canadian city bike with a hub motor from a company called Bion X, and Bion X is the reason it belongs on this list. The system's headline trick was regenerative braking, converting energy back into the pack on the way down a hill, which in 2014 felt like the future arriving early. If that name means nothing now, it meant a great deal at the time. Bionics drive systems ran inside bikes from Focus, Kalkoff, KTM, Raleigh, Reezy, and Muller, Univega, Diamond, Miele, and OHM. Tens of thousands of machines across North America and Europe. Our reporting at the time linked the collapse to a contract with a major automaker that the company could not fulfill profitably. In February of 2018, the Canadian parent entered receivership. Business activity was suspended. An advisory firm took over management, and by that August, the remaining hardware, inventory, patents, and trademarks were being sold at online auction. The architecture was closed by design. Owners could not fit a third-party battery. Independent workshops had to deal with Bionics parts, Bionics electronics, and a support chain that disappeared. Elby kept marketing the legacy line for a while afterward, but a drive system with no active production, limited parts, and weak aftermarket support is a developmental dead end, and the bikes wrapped around it went with it. Number 6. The electric bike company Model R. This is the one that stings for anyone who cares about American manufacturing. Electric bike company built and painted its bikes in Newport Beach, California, offering a level of customization almost nobody else attempted. Buyers picked colors, components, and configurations, and a small domestic team assembled the result by hand. The Model R was the cruiser at the heart of it, and that customization was the whole appeal. It was also, quietly, the problem, because every unusual color and component combination pushed production cost up on a company with thin margins. In late 2025, the company filed. The numbers in that filing tell the story cleanly. $6.1 million in liabilities against $953,000 in assets. The company stated it did not intend to restructure and would instead liquidate what remained. Rising component costs through 2025 appear to have played a part. Even a bike painted and assembled in California is built from imported parts, and those parts got more expensive every quarter. For owners, the split is now familiar. The wheels, the cranks, the brakes, the saddle, all of it can be sourced by any decent shop. The custom controller, the wiring loom, the battery designed for that specific frame, and the warranty that came with the purchase, all of those depended on a company that has stopped existing. $953,000 in assets does not honor anybody's warranty claim. Number 5. The Juiced Hyperscrambler 2 Juiced bikes started in San Diego in 2009, founded by an Olympic high jumper named Tora Harris, and spent 15 years building the fastest, longest range machines in the American market. The Hyperscrambler 2 was the peak of that. 2 enormous batteries totaling close to 2,000 watt-hours, a custom 1,000-watt motor, dual suspension, turn signals, mirrors, hydraulic brakes, a torque sensor. Around $2,700, and riders reported crossing 100 miles on a charge. In October of 2024, the company went silent. Orders stopped arriving. The forums filled with riders asking each other what was happening. The assets went to auction and sold for roughly $1.25 million. Then came the part that matters. In March of 2025, the co-founders of a rival brand bought the Juiced name and its intellectual property and relaunched it out of Phoenix, Arizona. That sounds like a rescue, except the deal did not include the old inventory or the warranty parts. A rider holding a Hyperscrambler 2 bought before 2025 is holding a warranty that no legal entity is obliged to honor, and some customers of the original company had already paid in full for bikes that never shipped. What remained of the stock was cleared through other retailers at discounts reaching $800, which tells you exactly what the market thought an unsupported flagship was worth. A supplier that had originally manufactured for Juiced and now holds some of the original patents sells compatible packs and components, which is the only reason these bikes still move at all. But a $2,700 flagship is now worth whatever somebody will gamble on an unsupported battery. Number 4. The VanMoof S4 and X4. VanMoof was the most funded electric bike company in the world, and by 2023, roughly 190,000 of its bikes were on the road. They were also the most connected bikes ever sold. The frame unlocked over Bluetooth, but the key it accepted was a rolling code, and that code was generated by a VanMoof server. When the Amsterdam bankruptcy landed in July of 2023, followed by liquidation in the United Kingdom and Germany, and a Chapter 15 filing in New York, Owners worked out the implication fast. No servers meant no code. No code meant no unlock. What followed is one of the stranger moments in this industry, when Cowboy, a Belgian competitor, put its software team on the problem overnight and shipped a free app, letting VanMoof owners generate and keep their own key locally. It only worked if you grabbed it while the servers were still breathing. VanMoof itself was bought weeks later by an engineering group and came back, which is where the Series 4 sits awkwardly. The company restarted spare parts production specifically for the Series 3, the S3, and X3 because those were the overwhelming majority of bikes on the road. For the other legacy models, it published repair manuals and technical drawings and expressed the hope that owners would enjoy their bikes longer. That archive was a real act of goodwill, and it is more than most collapsed brands ever offered. Drawings are not a supply chain. The S4 and X4 owner got documentation, where the S3 owner got parts, and in a bike this proprietary, that gap is the whole ballgame. Number 3. The Sur-Ron Light Bee X. Walk any fire road on a weekend and you will see them. Pedals, a bicycle-shaped frame, and a motor producing several times the legal limit for an electric bicycle. The Light Bee X is sold, marketed, and reviewed as an e-bike. Across a growing number of states, it is about to stop being one. Illinois passed a micromobility law that takes effect on the 1st of January 2027. Ordinary Class 1, 2, and 3 bikes are untouched, which is worth saying clearly because the coverage got this badly wrong. But any device capable of exceeding 28 miles per hour or carrying a motor above 750 watts becomes what the statute calls a motor-driven cycle. That means a driver's license, a title, registration, and insurance. Washington moved first, with a bill effective in June of 2026 that strips e-bike status from any machine capable of passing 20 miles an hour on the motor alone. Colorado attacked it from the seller's side, making it a deceptive trade practice to advertise a non-compliant vehicle as an electric bike, with penalties reaching $20,000 per violation and mandatory class labeling from January of 2027. New Jersey went furthest of all, abolishing the 3-class system outright in 2026 and regulating anything capable of passing 28 miles an hour as a motorcycle. So the Light Bee X owner ends up holding something that needs a title and an insurance policy on a machine that was never engineered to pass motorcycle equipment standards. It is too fast to be treated like a normal bicycle, and in many places, awkward to register cleanly as anything else. Number 2. The Rad Power RadWagon 4. For years, this was the bike that put American families on 2 wheels. A long-tail cargo frame, seats and rails on the back, and a generation of parents doing the school run on one. Rad Power Bikes was Seattle's micromobility success story, valued at $1.65 billion at its peak. In November of 2022, 29,300 RadWagon 4s were recalled because a misaligned rim strip could pop the inner tube. That was repairable, and it was handled. The second one was not. On the 24th of November, 2025, the Consumer Product Safety Commission issued a warning about the lithium-ion batteries used across the RadWagon 4, the Rad City 4, the Rad Rover 5, the RadRunner 1 and 2, the RadRunner Plus, and the Rad Expand 5. 3 model numbers were named. The batteries could ignite and explode, the agency said, especially after exposure to water and debris. 31 reported fires. 12 caused property damage totaling roughly $734,000. Several started while the battery was not charging and the bike was sitting in storage. Rad Power declined to agree to a recall, telling the regulator that refunds and replacements at that scale were financially impossible, while publicly disputing that the batteries were defective. The agency's instruction to owners was blunt. Remove the battery, take it to a municipal hazardous waste center, and do not sell it or give it to anybody. A week before that warning, the company had already filed formal notice with Washington State that operations could cease as early as January of 2026. 3 weeks later, it filed for Chapter 11. At auction in January of 2026, the asset sold for $13.2 million, a fall of roughly 99% from that peak in about 4 years. The brand survives today under new ownership, still based in Seattle. What did not survive is the $550 replacement battery. Number 1. The Ridstar Q20. This is the most recent entry on the list, and it is the one where the machinery of consumer protection simply stops working. In March of 2026, the Consumer Product Safety Commission warned owners of the Ridstar Q20 and Q20 Pro that the battery and wiring could ignite. 11 fire incidents, 1 burn injury, 5 cases of smoke inhalation, and 2 property damage incidents adding up to more than $40,000. 3 months later, on the 25th of June, the same agency issued a second warning on the same bike. This time the Q20 and the Q20 Lite, and this time the front wheel. 32 reports of the wheel detaching while the bike was being ridden, causing 31 injuries including concussions, broken bones, and lacerations. 2 federal warnings on 1 model in 12 weeks, covering 2 entirely unrelated hazards. The manufacturer, a Chinese company producing the bikes, has been unresponsive to the agency's requests for information in both cases. No recall has been issued for either hazard. There is no refund, no replacement pack, no repair program, and no realistic legal route for an American owner to pursue. Across the industry, fire incidents tied to lithium-ion e-bike batteries have become common enough that regulators are now moving toward mandatory safety rules, and as of the middle of 2026, still no mandatory federal safety standard for these products. A proposed rule that would make the UL certifications compulsory was published for comment in June of 2026, with written responses due that August. Until it lands, the check remains entirely the buyer's job. Conclusion: step back from all 10, and one pattern runs through every single one of them. None of these bikes broke in the way bicycles normally break. The frames are fine, the wheels turn, the brakes work, and in most cases the machine underneath would keep rolling for another 20 years the way bicycles always have. What failed was everything wrapped around the bicycle. A model number printed on a box somebody threw away, a battery molded to one frame by a supplier who stopped making it, a server in a data center, a definition in a statute rewritten 2 states over, a company on a balance sheet showing $6 million in debt against under $1 million in assets. There is one genuinely hopeful counterexample buried in this list, and it is worth ending on. When VanMoof came back, the new owners did not just restart the factory. They redesigned the components that had been failing, and they co-designed the replacements with large outside manufacturers, specifically so that the parts would remain available even if VanMoof itself ran into trouble again. Then they published the repair archives that had previously been secret, documents so tightly held that some existed only in Mandarin and had to be translated before owners could read them. That is a company designing for its own possible death, and it is the only real answer anybody in this industry has found. So if you are buying, the questions worth asking have very little to do with torque figures or top speed. Ask whether the battery carries a recognized certification. Ask whether it can be replaced by somebody other than the manufacturer. Ask whether the bike will start without an internet connection. And ask, honestly, whether the company selling it to you will still be trading in 5 years. Answer those 4 properly, and the bike in your garage stands a real chance of still being worth something in 2030.